Tricia, I'm very honored to have you as a guest today.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. And as I was saying before we got started, I think it's going to be a really great conversation. I can just feel the energy of the medicine and the energy of all of the beautiful things that want to come through. So really excited to talk to you.
Thank you. And, I would like to start with a very controversial subject and, in fact, organization, because on your bio, you mentioned that you spoke in front of the WEF crowd, and
Yeah.
they don't have a good name these days, and they want to suppress our freedoms, our food quality, and everything else. And I want to know if you were invited or you reach out to them, and what was the purpose of that interaction?
Oh, I'm so glad you went there. Um, it's interesting because I feel like in the world of being an initiated medicine woman, going to Gabon, you work with the all kinds of spiritual forces, including the darkest of the dark. And so you learn how to face the deepest things. And I truly believe that the World Economic Forum, all of these groups and organizations that exist in our world are a collective manifestation of our unconscious minds. It's our own unconscious behaviors, our own choices that we make where we're not using our voices, where we're not setting our boundaries, where we're essentially letting a very specific kind of archetype rule the planet by giving away our power and not realizing that it is within our soul. And so these opportunities to me, although they tend to be very exhausting because, it's like there's many things happening on many layers in these forums. This particular event, I was invited by a group of people that I started working with who are very benevolent, more on the benevolent side of really the space of psychedelics and policy, and really wanting to move the narrative forward related to allowing these healing modalities to happen. And they have for many years hosted events where they book out a private home on the mountain in Davos, where they host a series of different events. And some of the events that were hosted that I was part of, I was staying in one of the houses, was like Young Global Leaders, which is another side of WEF that people are, a little iffy about. And I really feel like the way that we're going to move the needle in terms of consciousness on this planet, I mean, it's both sides. It's like healing for everyone, but it's also there needs to be a fundamental shift in leadership in our planet. And if you go back to like pre-Diluvian times and even the times when, we were in Pharaonic Egypt, all of the pharaohs went through initiations to be empowered, to be in leadership. And I truly believe that the problem with our world today is that we lack initiation in our society, but we also lack initiation in our leadership. The people that should be running the planet, making these big decisions, or even representing people in making these decisions, need to have a certain grounded level of understanding, of balance, of equanimity, of really environmental stewardship. And so, to be a Trojan horse and to be able to be in this forum and be able to connect one-on-one with young people that have not necessarily been co-opted yet, maybe are in ignorance of what this agenda really stands for. And on the other side of the coin, how else are we going to shift the narrative? Because the reality is these groups have a lot of power. They don't have all the power, but they have a lot of power. And they're doing things, especially from an environmental perspective, that are harmful. They are directly harmful to the environment. There's a lot of greenwashing happening, a lot of fake sustainability. And if we want to build ecological communities, and I've had this experience myself dealing with, for example, in the Azores, I'm building a retreat center, and the tourism board gets a lot of their narratives that kind of trickle down from the EU, which the EU is in bed with the World Economic Forum. And I said, one thing that's really important to us from an ecological standpoint is that people need to have connection to the elements. One of the narratives of this bigger World Economic Forum mission is to get rid of fire. And there's an alchemical aspect of fire in the home that is really essential for maintaining the balance in power within ourselves. I talk about this in a chapter in my book called Solar Eclipse in Seeding Consciousness, that when we got separated as a society from fire, which, primarily came with the invention of combustion engines and electricity and all of these things, which are all fire-based technologies, we lost respect for our relationship with fire. We had a healthy respect for it because it would literally destroy, it would burn down entire cities. If you look back at the ancient history of all the major cities, at least in the United States that I'm aware of, San Francisco, Seattle, all of the big major cities have had complete annihilations from fire. And the reality is that fire is a alchemical cleansing agent, and sometimes it's necessary when certain energies get out of balance in a society for that to come through and clean that out. Of course, there are lives sometimes at stake in this, and but also, when we think about nature and the way we are with nature, there are lives at stake in the entire planet with us getting out of balance with this fire. So, long answer to the question, but I really feel that the World Economic Forum is probably one of the best places that, I could be, to be talking about these topics.